Is there only one type of leprechaun? Well, Dagdy Agus Fáilte, hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And Nianza, not hard to say. There is not only one type of leprechaun in Ireland's mythology about our mythical creatures. And interestingly, the term and the word leprechaun has changed over the time frame of us exploring the mythology of Ireland. So the first references that we have to leprechaun actually come from medieval manuscripts talking about the adventures of a king called Fergus. And this King Fergus has, let's say, an intimate relationship with the queen of a variety of, I suppose, water elementals or water creatures, or she entities that are more connected with water. And he's a little bit bemused about this, him being the size of a human and her being very diminutive, how mechanically it works. And that's the first mentions that we have to these section of the she or these type of she known as leprechauns. Now, over the time as the mythology has moved and as we move through the distancing of the other world and our world, the term leprechaun has kind of come to mean a variety of different types of beings from the she, from the other world. So the Irish other world is this kind of parallel reality that exists simultaneously with ours. It's also known as On Sale Ella, the other life. And within that other world, there are entities, there are creatures, there are monsters, there are beasts, there are other peoples, other folk. And so the term leprechaun has come to mean a particular type of these other folk. So there are like the she races, there's the she hunts, there's like the she gatherings where they dance and they sing, but the leprechauns tend to be this category of individual she, these small individual figures who appear more likely to interact with humans directly than the other bunches of groups or gatherings of she people. But that doesn't mean that they're the only type of category. There's another subcategory known as a cluricaun. And the cluricaun, no, okay, I'm not saying sub, it's not like subspecies. There's just another recognition of slightly different. Either it's a regional expression of leprechaun, or it's a like direct cousins and they function in different ways. Leprechauns are tend to be out and about in the wild, tend to be, what you'd find in more rural areas as you're going around the ancient kind of sheep places of Ireland. And of course, there is that mythology about them being connected with treasure or having treasure or knowing where treasures are buried. And then if you can capture and can compel the leprechaun, they may lead you to a place where treasure can be buried. But also they have powers to go invisible, to disappear on you, to trick you with their words, to make you believe there's a treasure there and like kind of glamour it so that you believe it's there, but it isn't there. There's a whole load of trickster elements that go along with leprechauns. What's different about cluricauns, though, is where leprechauns tend to be more rural, cluricauns are a bit more urban. We will find that a cluricaun would haunt or inhabit the drink cellar or wine cellar of a particular family. And much like the banshee or woman of the she might be linked or associated with a certain family or bloodline, cluricauns are linked with families. So much so that the stories in the mythology and the folklore we have about the disruptive nature of a cluricaun in your cellar, because the cluricaun will drink your booze on you. They will literally lead you to ruin. They will not be quiet about it. They will carouse. They will absolutely have a great old time drinking and smoking and laughing and reveling in your cellar. And so this constant disturbance of your household, the order of your household, led some of these families to try and move, only to find that the Clurichaun moved with them. So it was this association between the family that it is a disruptive element, but in some ways the Clurichaun was also looking after the family. They were looking after protecting the family's wealth or protecting the family members from people who would come and steal. Anyone who goes into Clurichaun's territory or to try and steal from him or the family that he's linked with, be it booze or alcohol or whatever stored in the cellar, will literally get the shit kicked out of them by the Clurichaun. There's stories of untrustworthy people kind of breaking into a cellar, trying to steal from the family, only to be found battered and bruised the next morning. There's records that we have of some Clurichaun who actually have names where they're so well known that they're known to the family and known to the lineage of family because they're always there in the down the generations of the family that they have a name and they're known. There's one particular description of one who, again, small diminutive figures, sometimes wearing a red hat. There's one guy who was known as Leather Apron because he always wore a leather apron. And the cook was told by the family, always make sure you leave a portion of food down in the cellar. You make sure you leave a decent portion of food down in the cellar. And everything went fine until the cook didn't and left kind of some cold potatoes and like the remains of a fish. At which point it's believed that Leather Apron came out of the cellar, dragged the cook down into the cellar, and bet the snot out of them with the leather apron. They were found battered and bruised the next morning at the foot of the cellar stairs. Now, again, is it because these narrative stories blame the she, blame the fairies, blame, like, for doing these disruptive things? Or are these actually entities from the other world? I'm not here to say yes or no, but what I am saying is that according to our question, is there only one type of leprechaun? No, there is not. Leprechaun has come to mean this catch-all term for these diminutive people from the other world that do come into our world, either on their hunts, either on their music, but leprechauns, as opposed to hunts and gatherings, tend to be more solitary and tend to interact with humans. Oh, there is one other thing that I found fascinating about the Clurichaun specifically. Clurichaun was said to have a purse. And if you could catch the Clurichaun, who again could go invisible, could disappear, could glamour things and make you see things that aren't there, as well as beat the snot out of you, if you could actually catch and compel a Clurichaun to give up their treasure, they could give you a purse, and in the purse would be something known as a spree na scéalna. A spree na scéalna, I hope I'm saying that right. Oh, that's my pronunciation of it. It was known as a lucky shilling. And so this shilling would always return to the purse, no matter how many times you spent it. So, following this tradition of knowing where treasure is or being able to, if you capture and compel successfully, you can actually be quite beneficial for you to gain the treasures of these other world entities. So, this lucky shilling, the spree na scéalna, would be, again, it would just always return to your purse, no matter how many times you spent it anywhere. So, yeah, this has been an interesting exploration. As I said, there's so many mythical creatures that exist in Irish folklore, and so many of the stories that we have of not just people of the other world, but also beasts of the other world and monsters of the other world coming over into ours. And I think I'm going to be trying to explore more of those here in our channel. So if you want to follow along, please make sure you're doing the like and subscribe thing. Please make sure you're on the podcast if you listen to us there. If you want to know more about Irish mythology, about the other crowd, the Banshee, etc., we have classes available on the Irish Pagan School. Go to irishpaganschool.com. If you want to pick up something for free, go to the irishpagan.school/free, and you can get a year's worth of free recommended resources, guided meditations, classes taught by myself and by Laura. There's a lot that we want to give away to kind of help people to interact ethically with Irish culture, Irish folklore, and Irish belief structures. So until next time, look after yourself, take care, August Lawn. Goodbye.